service. Hey everyone, welcome to Chef Sense. I'm your host, Chef Massey. All right, we have Chef James Gopp from Heirloom Fire. Thank you for being here.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you. I've been looking forward to this for a while now.
Appreciate you for your appreciation and listening, and you sharing your passion, your craft, your beginning, enlightening all of our listeners. And, I'm just excited to hear about that. So yeah, if you want to start from your beginning and how food passion, where did it all come from?
Yeah.
Where's that throw the box away mentality?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a lot. I'm not, I came from a very strong food-driven family growing up, and it was something like I never understood. My grandmother, every Thanksgiving, she would start 3 days before, preparing everything and, saving, onion skins and doing something with them. And I was like, I don't understand why you're doing that. And in the moment, I guess I didn't appreciate it. As I got older, I began to appreciate it more. But I came from more of an art background. It was more of like my mother has all these pictures of me falling asleep, sketching with a pen in my hand.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
I always loved Halloween and, different masks and things. And one year, this is, I think, sort of what really developed my basis for how can I look at something through. Nowadays, I say, I look at it through the Heirloom Fire lens. So one year I bought this foam latex mask that I, had somebody help apply to my face. It wasn't quite the right size for my face. So the next year I was like, well, can I do it myself? And that's the way I've approached everything. And the chef knives that I use, I studied about how to blacksmith and make those, and handles from bones that are from local steer, taking those and pounding those out. It really all started with a girl. I think I think a lot of people's journeys in life, but I worked at Guido's Fresh Marketplace in Great Barrington.
Okay. Oh, I think I saw that ad. They're doing great. They've got that store.
Oh my God.
Talk about Disneyland.
Yeah. And it has not seemed to slow down. And, when I was just a young buck, I didn't seek out working there. It wasn't like, oh my God, I want to be involved in food. It was who's hiring. And then that's where I really understood, having a peach in August. You want to be standing over a bathtub when you bite into it so the juice drips down, right?
Right.
Good heirloom apples, understanding seasonality. And, then, of course, getting to meet some of the chefs that came in, Dan Smith from Johnny Andrews.
He's great, too.
He's the best.
Yeah,
and I just had an issue with my Hobart mixer, my A200, where he just happened to reach out. I forgot we've exchanged phone numbers. He's like, hey, I have a planetary shaft. So he's a great guy. But then you see those guys come in, I've always like that phrase, always love a man in a uniform. And it's like, oh, it's a chef. So then I'm going over and I'm showing, got to check out this persimmons and all this type of stuff. Yeah, that's where I really enjoyed, and understood seasonality. And then I met a woman who basically was like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, because anytime I ever had a crush on anybody, it would be like, oh, I'd bake them some sort of chocolate goodie or something like that. Cool. And that would typically be it. But this one was like, working there for the summer. What are you doing? Well, let's start looking at culinary schools.
Okay.
So I went to New York City. I went to the Institute of Culinary Education.
Okay.
It was on West 23rd Street in Manhattan and Chelsea. And what an amazing experience that was. And if I could find a way to bottle that energy ever again, to be able to work at Guido's Monday through Friday, head out there and do the expedited, oh my gosh, where is that at now?
Yeah. Welcome. Here we are.
Yeah, here we are. And it was a real weird thing to then, kind of leave that course and then, looking at the art aspect, because I would take casts of my friends' faces and put, I'd make a clay mold on top of it, and it could be either silicone or foam latex. So you'd spend a month on something, application, you'd be doing teeth and whatnot. Then when it came to food, doing a multiple component dish, somebody goes to eat it and no, don't touch that. It's not meant to be eaten. So that was a real eye-opening thing for me to understand over the period of time, is that it's about the entire experience. It's about eat with our eyes first.
Right. Absolutely.
So, and I worked at the Wheatley for a period of time, the Old and the Green. So I tried to find these places.
Very cool.
And then for a little bit, it was, for me, I enjoy these types of things, these personal connections.
Yep.
I'm much more of an introvert, so it's weird that I own a company that caters to massive amounts of people. But I enjoy the client that I'm working with. So working in restaurants, I never got the satisfaction of, being able to prepare something for somebody. And I didn't need somebody to pat me on the back and say, hey, great job. I think it was just this aspect of taking care of somebody.
Sure.
And curtailing that entire experience to them. So honestly, truth is, I got burnt out. I've been burnt out a few times. And I think it's important where a lot of cooks don't actually pay attention when that happens, because you can stay on the pot for too long.
You bet.
So, I took a break, and there was a local butcher shop that was looking for help. They had some open fire catering stuff.
Oh, Jeremy Stanton.
Yep. And I went and helped him for one event, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. You can be cooking over fire outdoors.
Yeah.
It's a totally different game. And at that point, it was simple. It was like, roasting pigs and vegetables and things like that. And it was a lot of fun. And
sure.
So then shortly thereafter, I ended up managing that company and managing the butcher shop, and did that for about maybe 3 or 4 years, and then got to a stage where, just professional differences, and it's overstayed my time there, and got kind of burnt out. And I got burnt out again the last big time, I'm like, I don't even know if I want to be in the food industry anymore.
Wow.
But then I ended up working I knew I wanted to be involved somehow. So I ended up working at Taft Farms.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Paul,
I think that's when I first met you. Yeah.
You had boys down there, and they were, picking out Kyle Nottingham.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Another sweetheart. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Oh, yeah. No, he's great.
Yeah. And
very talented.
Yeah, worked there, and it happened to just come across, developing professional relationships with clients. And it's something I often think about in life, is we always have these particular moments that come up that may or may not make something.
Sure.
And, I ended up getting right before I started working at the farm, I got this flu. I thought it was like a real serious, just seasonal flu, but turned out it was Lyme disease.
Oh, you have that too?
Yeah, the most amazing diet I've ever been on. I didn't have to do anything. I lost weight. I lost like 20 pounds. I just had this like fever constantly.
Oh, it's horrible.
It's really horrible. Yeah. And then going to work at Taft Farms in the blazing sun, taking doxycycline.
Yes, I was doing, yep.
So you got to have like a cowboy hat and putting the stuff on top of your ears and whatnot.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. But anyhow, a connection that I had made, a really high profile celebrity, was going to be their party. And I didn't have any equipment. It was nothing, right? This person, this person reached out and said, basically the handler or the assistant to this person was saying, we have this event coming up. Can I talk to you tomorrow? And that was on Sunday, and I was so sick. And I was like, yeah, absolutely, for sure. So, if they could only see me on the other side of the camera, I was like draped with a blanket over me. And the person was like, oh, it's so-and-so's birthday this weekend, and a lot of other celebrities are going to be there, and started name-dropping things. And like, do you think we can do something? I'm like, oh, yeah, of course. I don't have anything. No equipment. So got off the phone, called up my cousin, who had worked with me intimately at that point at that company, and we literally built the business in 5 days.
Unbelievable.
We built an oven. Wow. One of my best friends, who's also a wedding planner, Magdalena.
Yep.
Events and Design. Right. So she was like sewing tablecloths and making props. And
wow.
And the reason I bring that up is I often think about that. Had it not been for that particular celebrity, would I be sitting here today? Would I just simply said, no, unfortunately, I don't have anything.
Right.
And business just kept coming. And I was like, well, actually, you know what? I really enjoy this now that I'm in control.
Yeah.
And then we started off with 5 events, and 2022 was like a banner year for us. We did 38 events.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Got to do an event for really one of my idols in life. So it's like checked off a box, Dan Barber.
Absolutely. Sure.
And then finished our season in Nashville, Tennessee with Sean Brock. So
there you go. Okay.
It was a great
That's
year.
Outstanding, man. Yeah. And I think too, for our listeners, because we do get a variety of people, we're not talking commercial kitchen and like combi oven and all these, French range, and you've got all this equipment that you're wrapped in. Your experience is something that is this immersion opportunity that is in a sense, this food theater. And you are really captivating people, not just by the senses of what is on the plate, but the minute that they step into even probably talking to you about their opportunity to work with you, it really is a culinary spiritual experience, to be honest. I mean, because you're using wood, you're using crafted metal, and you're out in the elements. So everybody, this is kind of more of what we're talking about. And it is a special situation because you really find out what you're made of being in these environments.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to.
No, don't be sorry.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's
kinda,
correct. I didn't do a great job at all of the explaining. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a really interesting thing where it's kind of like takes traditional catering and flips it on its head in the sense that a lot of ways people are cooking 90% of the food off-site and then bringing it in, where we're cooking 90% of the food on-site the day of. And you're absolutely right. I mean, last year, and it's just, it's so interesting. There's so many different things you're combating: wind speed, quality of the wood. We for a while we were getting, because you have to you're not allowed to transport wood across really even county borders due to the emerald ash borer problem.
Oh, right.
So you really have to be getting it from the areas you're working in. A lot of times, if we're working someplace in New Hampshire or Rhode Island, we have no idea the quality of the wood. I don't know these people.
It could need to be dried longer. I mean, boy.
And there's a lot of times it shows up, either feels like they cut it down on the way.
Super green.
Punky and moldy. And again, we had done another really high profile wedding. It was like the biggest of our time. And we had all the food prepped and none of the the fires couldn't get going. I called the guy up and can I get some seasoned wood? He's like, what do you mean? Just throw a can of gasoline on it. I said, I'm cooking over it. And
come try this food now.
Yeah, exactly. You can have the first round of it. Yeah. So, but that's the thing is you're absolutely right. It shows you what you're made of, with a propane grill or a range or whatever, you're like, oh, I know where the hot spots are. Like you're creating the hot spots. And we did an event this past year. It was water up above my boots, which is sort of cowboy calf boots. We had to find things and we just make it work.
Yeah.
I had a chef, traditional sort of chef that came and worked with us this year, and it had been raining constantly, and this was a particularly rainy event. And she had a really great perspective looking at it. She didn't get stressed at all. But the rest of the team were just like, yeah, it's raining again. So that's where having that team that where, you go through enough things. And the thing that I think I'm the most proud of this, obviously working with amazing clients and doing beautiful food, but from the back end, I get to go on the weekends or on the, basically the biggest day. We have prep and then we have the day. I really look forward to seeing my friends and my family, to be able to cook. And then when you go through all kinds of heck with each other, you can realize that, you look to the person to your left and the person to your right, and you can accomplish anything. You can go into battle with those people.
And they've got your back, Yeah,
100%.
Right. And, there's so many questions involved with, what you do that I find so intriguing. I mean, I've done some of these events, but nothing like, like outstanding in the field. And, I understand and respect the fact of I love, open fire cooking and being out in the elements. But again, it's also the menu engineering that you do with going even further into it and foraging or using some of these, items from that regional area to have a voice on that menu. That's amazing. I mean, you're dropping in, and logistically, you have to think of your team. You have to think of what you're bringing. You have to think, can I put this stuff here? I mean, there's a lot you're dealing with, and I'm just rattling. But then you're dealing with the fires. Then you're prepping and execution, and you're even doing these stations along the way, and you carry people through an event. I mean, this is a lot of strategic and craft formulation. And that's why I'm calling it a craft, because, again, I love what I do and I'm very talented in it, but I love that opportunity to go that much further. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost to that, I will always say this anytime on site, because I realize that, sure, I may have the ideas, but without the team that I have, you can never execute. So, I'm the first person to tell everybody all the time, because I sincerely mean it, is that I have the best team, Now there's been, I have one guy who used to be my boss at Guido's in the produce department, who's been with me since the beginning plus some.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, and he's graduated from dishwashing or turning proteins to now really one of the most essential pieces of the kitchen is cooking in open fire ovens. So, I mean, then there are some other turnover, pieces of people that come in just due to, seasonality or whatever it may be. But, I think it's really important when it comes to like a leadership aspect is, it's my job to really first and foremost, you have to love what you do.
Absolutely.
And then people have got on my, chops before about finding a work to life balance, which is fine. I've tried doing that, but I think when you almost demonize the work aspect when you have to institute this idea of you have to find a balance.
Yep.
I have, but also if what I do, I'm very fortunate to have found what I do that actually feeds me.
Yes.
So that's what I love. So it's my job to really set up my team. I do have, it's a very small skeleton crew back at the shop, at our shop that we have there. But, on site, if we're doing an event for 200 people, we could easily have, 8 or 9 cooks in the kitchen that are working. And then, if it's for 200 people, probably around, 18 or 19 for the house members.
Yeah.
So it's a small village that are doing all this. And, I really try to pay attention to each person in their role, see what they're doing, and constantly try to give them a little bit more to kind of see.
Sure, absolutely.
Did they rise? Do they like it? Does it speak to them?
Yeah. Well, and you're dealing with all the other turbulence in the waters too, with staffing struggles. And now you have an operation that you're setting up out there, and you're taking people, staff members, if they're new, and you're like, hey, you're going from a commercial kitchen setting to learning, because that tending a fire for me is a very spiritual thing. It comes to the indigenous side of my family where it's life's existence, and feeding a fire is kind of like being a parent. And you've got to understand when it needs to be moved, when it needs to be guided in the way that you see helping it to its future.
Yeah.
So that's where, that appreciation of dealing with all these elements, and then also that love for community. And, I come from a multi-generational farming family. So I spent a lot of time, picking up mainline and doing a lot of these things. And, that's where I think it's very special that there's a chef, and then we're also artists. And I think when we are driven, that could be a very challenging trajectory, depending on how we deliver our message of internal fire. And, that's where I respect the fact of first, knowing that I need a boundary, because I have gone into those situations where, Steph has said, when is it ever going to be enough for you? And at that point, in my head right then, I was like, I don't know, keep going. So you have this existence kind of lifestyle that it is challenging. It is hard, and you are consumed, on so many ways. The financial side, admin side, to menu creation, to staffing challenges. So for you to do this out in the open is just, it's kind of a marvel,
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, it takes a lot. And there's a lot of stuff you touched on there. And it's so interesting because when I bring somebody on, I will tell you to this date so far, having somebody that has only culinary experience, that have been a career cook, ultimately it doesn't really work out with us. Yeah. A lot of the people that I have that work with us on site are people that are, they all have second jobs. And it's interesting because considering the amount of work, I mean, it's like, typically a 14 to 15 hour day on site.
Yeah.
We show up, we set up the kitchen,
right?
From soup to nuts, we do our best. I mean, I'm also like an insane football coach at the end of the, event. I'll go through social media and look at every single picture that may have been tagged to see if there's anything out of place. And then I will screenshot those things and circle them and send it to the appropriate person.
Yeah.
But, the average age for my team is probably about 45 to 50, which is kind of interesting. When I've had people that are professional chefs, they come in, they're used to coming in and setting up their station.
Yeah.
And that's no longer it. I mean, there's a different thing where it's like, we got to set up stuff, and then we have our moments. We have, like, cocktail hour comes. That's the nice part. Once we know cocktail hour is there, past apps, stationary. We have like a beautiful Burkle meat slicer that we're slicing.
Those are great.
They really are.
Gosh.
And our charcuterie program too is like another thing we really try to focus on is waste reduction. So for us, like this time of year is a great example when we use winter squash, right? So if we're doing a preparation, maybe we peel the squash and then we pack it into our good food cooler. We bring it back to the shop and put it in our Excalibur dehydrator and dehydrate that and then grind it up into a powder that we can use as like a finishing seasoning or a crumble.
Very
or
cool.
whatever.
Okay.
Seeds, we'll take the seeds out. We'll same deal, bring them back to the shop, soak them, take off the membranes, roast them, and then press them into an oil. Oh, wow. So with the oil, we can set aside, and then the seeds that come out of the oil press, we can incorporate that maybe with that seed powder. So then now, next time we do the dish, we're using, and then roast the flesh. Anything we can't repurpose, like maybe leftover sourdough bread, because we have so many breadcrumbs as it is, and maybe some dessert cakes or whatever. Those goes to a container for our livestock farmers who come and pick it up. The mud
Okay.
after an event. So they feed it to their animals all throughout the season. At the end of the season, we'll purchase those animals from them and then turn them into charcuterie for the next season.
Right, and you're doing the whole setup as well with that, curing, aging, the whole.
Yes.
And that's another thing to the story, right? It's just very powerful.
Yeah, and you have to come up to the shop sometime and see it because it's a beautiful system.
Yeah, I would be extremely heightened, I'm sure. Probably couldn't help myself, but, be like a kid in a candy store with that, and the sponsor today is BetterHelp. BetterHelp is an online therapy service. They have 30,000 licensed therapists in their network. It's really amazing, and I have enjoyed taking advantage of this opportunity with them myself because oftentimes the intensity in the kitchen, the challenges in life, I have put myself on the back burner, and working with BetterHelp, it has supported me in continuing my own self-work, but also putting me back front and center in the game of being an effective leader, partner, and all of the above. So take that questionnaire. Once you do that, you go through that system and they filter those therapists that are fit for your specific needs. They get back to you in most cases within 48 hours or less. You can book those therapy sessions at your leisure that fit your schedule, which is truly amazing. I can say as a chef and, on the go and parent, it makes it very convenient. You could do those via the video chat, the instant message. Go to betterhelp.com/Chef Massey and you get the 10% off first month when you do that. And in that link, the questionnaire is there for you. So join me on sliding to the front burner because we deserve it. Back to the episode. Can you give an example? I think there was one you had done in Florida in an event that was just like, wow, I have got to go all the way down there. I mean, that was crazy too.
Yeah, that was during COVID. Also.
Oh, okay, wow.
So it was really crazy. So it was like late 2019. They had me to come down to just do a site visit. They put me up. It was at this, Ritz-Carlton place. No, was it? Yeah, I think it was Ritz-Carlton. It'll come to me.
Oh, no worries.
But the first thing was, I'm from the country up here in the mountains.
Yeah.
And they take me out. I get there like, all right, we have everything set up for you. We're going to be going fishing, so you might want to pack a pair of shorts. I'm like, well, I don't own shorts. I don't typically.
Right.
So we're out there on, in a boat and, catching vermilion red snapper. And it was fun. It was super fun, right? But then we go back, we're sitting down, and then right when we got there, they made crudo almost immediately with it and sent it up to us as something to nibble on. Now, being landlocked, I've never had fish that fresh. It was like, the sort of, culinary director was like, oh, this is great. So even before the rigor set in.
Wow.
So it was like eating these salty tabs of like sea butter. It was beautiful. The most amazing. So they had asked, because, every once a year we try to do a ticketed event where we create a culinary experience in a place that's not normally set up. So there's not going to be any power accessible, no bathrooms. So we're bringing all that in.
Yeah.
We did a dinner inside of an old cement mine in Rosendale, New York once, where the dinner itself was in this cement mine that was half covered in water and half there. It was a lot of fun.
Right.
So they asked me to create an experience down there. So that's like, working with things that we don't even have up here, and a lot of things we work with up here too is invasive species. So Japanese knotweed, buckthorn, garlic mustard, all different kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So, it was really interesting to crack into that and understand the wild boar down there, the lionfish, which is like really the quintessential kind
Monterey
of.
Bay was saying something about,
Oh, they're horrible. It all starts with people that, they want to get it. So basically, for folks that don't know, an invasive species is classified as, when you take something out of its regular ecosystem. An ecosystem develops to keep everything in check. Now, it can be from the bacteria in the soil to the birds that may be eating something, to then what eats the birds and what eats whatever on top of it. Yep. So down in Florida, they even have a problem with the Burmese python.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And do you know what the natural predator that keeps a Burmese python in check is? A Bengal tiger. Oh. So they're not just sort of hanging out down there walking around in Florida, right? So these are all things like when I look at it, because the big thing for me is a purpose. Like sure, I want to cook and everything, but what is the bigger purpose, the bigger cause? Right. So, Phragmites or even knotweed are brought in as ornamentals that then once you take it out of its own ecosystem, there's nothing that keeps it in check. So it goes bonkers. So instead of looking at that as like a pest where we want to spray it with some kind of pesticide or whatever, there's we love knotweed. We work with it all year round. When it comes up in the spring, we'll cover it and kind of treat it like white asparagus.
That's cool. Yeah,
kind of blanch it.
That. Okay.
Yeah, and then after that, take it out, then blanch it in salted water, and then kind of keep it in like a vinaigrette, and it tastes just like artichoke hearts.
Oh, no kidding.
Really beautiful, and it's so prevalent. It's ridiculous. Like,
wow.
And it's the best part is it's you can't beat the price.
Okay.
It's a great price. Wow. Free. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing, and the experience of, your staff members. Like I was using milkweed pods.
Yeah.
And pickling those, and it almost has this okra-like profile to it. But it was, doing those sorts of things. Again, I think it's mindfulness in my mind to be where my feet are. Not only just as a chef, but again, going to my native foundation that, it's very powerful. And for you being that pulled into it, it's wonderful to see.
I wanted to ask you, given your heritage, I cannot remember the chef's name, but he has a cookbook called The Sous Chef.
Oh yeah, he's Lakota. Yep.
Do you have that book?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. It's great.
So inspirational. So because of that, I didn't even think about this.
Yep.
He was talking about using juniper berries, wild juniper berries.
Yep.
And it's so interesting. Around here, we don't have many cedar trees that are going to be bearing them. I just think it's just slightly warmer over in New York State. Just the growing zone is different. So you can go over there and collect those and dry those. And we've been using those as cracked pepper on a venison dish or something, And, as long as you have like a blueberry comb, one of those things where you go to the shrubs, you can collect quite a bit.
Right. Sean Sherman, is it?
Oh, yeah, that's him.
Regular old Jamie.
Yeah, that's him.
Jamie.
Yeah, I know, right? Pulling it up.
Yeah.
That's
I like the podcast.
I like that. Would you look that up?
Yeah, totally got us.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's right. And he does a lot of work. And I think, again, when you're looking at indigenous eating, there's it's very simple. You're taking that aspect, and it's the same thing with our settlers. Any one of us that has been placed in these environments where you're learning your surroundings.
Yes.
The spruce tips or, spruce syrup or some of these things that, that we're doing. Like I'm getting ready. I've got maple sap going, and like Dan Barber now using it with the waters, and you're not fully reducing it for syrup. You're enhancing. So I think it's very powerful to show people, at least from my side, that if you just slow down in this world that we live in, and you take a minute to be out at one of your events, see all of the hard work that you all are doing, or going and foraging, getting burdock root, watercress, or sunchoke. It's a spiritual existence, primarily for me, that as a leader, it's the same way. I view the woods and the lands. We are all connected here for a purpose. Being able to reach the land in that way, just that variety, it shows people your passion for just being where we are.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important.
I do as well. Yeah. I mean, literally, you can walk outside and there's an entire grocery store.
There is.
Whether it's red clover, white clover, you have violets that grow out there. You could just take an hour and pick wild violets in the springtime. Of course, not taking too many to disturb the bees, but they're really prolific, and then make a syrup out of that. Because for me, when it comes down to it, it's like, food is great. A good recipe is good, but the best enhancement to a recipe is a story.
Absolutely.
And if you can excite people about, did you see that out there? Or, during COVID, a big thing we did was doing these cooking classes at people's houses. So I'd bring one of my ovens and we would set it up and we would put together a whole menu. And while food was cooking, I would then take them on their property and show them what's growing. And the excitement to see for people to actually realize that, and do something with it. I mean, I'm just a big fan of, think back like when Friends was really big, or Game of Thrones or wherever. It's like, you come in, did you see what happened last night? There was that water cooler talk. And if somebody doesn't know, then you can educate them, and there's a beautiful exchange there.
Oh, it's really amazing. Yeah. Any challenges that because you pop up, you're looking, you have to look at your setup, what the terrain looks like. I mean, what kind of challenges, other than quite a bit, do you deal with? I mean, setup, logistics of getting everybody there. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it definitely has its challenges. I would say the biggest challenge, it's really, it's funny. It's year to year, so.
Yeah, because you're going by the elements. You're slow time, or is there a slow time? Or
we've been trying to, as crazy as this is, because we go so hard from essentially May until November. And that's where, when we did 38 events, there's 52 weeks in a year. It's a lot, and we could do an event on a Friday in one location, and then we could do an event on Saturday in a completely different location. We ended up doing this event, which was amazing, for this other high profile wedding that we had done. The planner had called me 2 weeks before the event, and it was like, oh, we're doing this event in Long Island. I know you probably can't actually do it. And I'm like, well, it's for you. Of course I'm going to. I didn't tell him that, though. I'm like, yeah, we can make it happen. So we did this, several, it's a lot of prep leading up. Yeah, we do 90% of the work on site, but, we're also trying to keep up on fermenting, foraging.
Oh, yeah.
At the shop, we're doing things like, aiolis or salad dressings or something of that nature. So we did that event. That's like 12 hours all in. They wanted to do a late night. So I left 2 members of the team there. Then we had to get into a vehicle and then, logistically set up an Airbnb 2 hours away, hoping there's no traffic or whatever. So then we drive out, crash there, get up, have breakfast, we're on the road again. We drive another 2 hours. It's 4 hours away. Everyone's dog tired. And it's for a 30-person party. And, thankfully, it's like we got it done because that's how we do it. But it is like typically like a Sunday, I'm like dead to the world.
You gotta be. Absolutely.
Other challenges, I would say, we're always going to, for me, like this is the thing. All day long, we will plan as we should. But also there's going to be curveballs. You just have to accept that. And it's like I always tell the team, it's not about like how much you plan. It's about getting rocked on the chin and still moving forward. And also not letting them see you sweat.
Right.
That's the big thing, So, dealing with the curveballs or something I just have become second nature. But yeah, I think those are the big things. Truthfully, in this area, the thing that I'm really, and this is a challenge that I don't know as though it's solely for just on me, but the thing I worry about, and the thing that ultimately does affect me, I guess, in the same way, is that we're really pushing the envelope when it comes to food, and I want to do that, and I want to also share that with people. Now, the thing that scares me is that I feel like in this area, and I know that it's just becoming increasingly more expensive to live here, and it's harder to get people here, is that, okay, ultimately, no one's going to work for you forever. If they do, and they're a really great employee, bless your stars and everything. But if they leave, you want to set them up for success, and you want the next thing they go on to give them another experience in this area. And those are the things I worry about here. And I think it also is limiting to having access to really skilled cooks. That's the big thing, is that that's the wall I'm hitting now. With having somebody that's going to be a key member of my team, because ultimately the goal is to grow into something where we can control the entire experience. I love having people up to our tasting room for small, because we do intimate dinners up there as well. Yeah, we can do dinners for 24 people. We just did one where I go hunting with my neighbor, and that's kind of how it started. Is one year he asked me, hey, do you want to go hunting? I'm like, yeah, sure. We went out and got a nice, beautiful doe. And then, it was right around kind of shortly thereafter with COVID in 2021. I've always wanted to go to Noma. I had tickets to go to Noma and the Fat Duck. And it was like, oh, how can you get these tickets? But then, of course, COVID hit. So that was gone. I'm like, well, if I can't go there, I want to create my own version of their game menu. So we created something called Wildland, which is sort of a look at the Berkshires at that time of year. Lots of preserves, going fishing, getting like pickerel, wild duck, venison, and just playing with a lot of other ingredients like birch, working with birch wood.
Nice.
Have you ever worked with birch wood where you take it, steep it in cream and milk, and it makes the most amazing ice cream?
No, I have not done that, no.
Oh, it's wild. And the magic comes when you add vinegar to it.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, we just did this year. We did sort of a take on a deconstructed root beer float, where we did like a sassafras ice cream.
Oh, that's cool.
Ginger cotton candy.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And did like a...
Oh, very nice. Wow, man.
Yeah. And a sarsaparilla. It's like, I have one of those vegetable peelers that you can peel the apples out super long.
Oh, yes.
And rolled that up and poached that in a sarsaparilla syrup.
Okay.
And then dunked that in a white chocolate that was flavored with like a root beer extract. And then did like a wrapper on it, so it looks like a log when you cut into it. But all of those components, and then like an anise shortbread cookie to go in.
Oh, okay. That's kind of nice.
Licorice root, yeah.
Oh, very cool.
So playing with that stuff, we have surround sound up there. We play with smells. We built these tables that we can put a little key into them, and so when you remove the center leaf, you can crank something up, and the charcuterie board came out of the center of the table. A lot of wild stuff.
So how do you? Because a visionary, it's hard for us to. You develop your team, you develop the leadership team with you, and the big goal is to try to be able to be freed up enough from the operation so that you can build the road ahead while still being involved with the team. Mm-hmm. That's hard. You're thinking of things that are, that you may have to get for a number of those to create that mechanic and Yeah.
It's incredibly challenging. It was going, if you go back to 2021 when the government was getting these checks that were, the government was giving checks for people to be able to live, which was great. And we took advantage of it through a business as well.
Okay.
Of course. Cool. But, it was very hard to get local talent to work. So
right.
I had to work. So now 2021, we're doing events that we quoted in 2019. So, we're looking at now having to bring in a staffing agency from New York City, which we're going to be paying twice the amount of money
right.
for what we had quoted it for. And then the captain's $80 an hour. So we took a shellacking, for sure, in 2021. But, and around here, we're so close to New York City and so close to Boston. So the folks that are really passionate are either going to go to that place or maybe they go to a Miraval or what have you. But that's where, we are taking the team members that are here and I'm trying to awaken a passion inside of them. That is certainly the hardest thing to get, I think, right now, because a lot of people around here, I've had folks on that, have made choices in their lives that maybe in those moments they didn't think were the greatest choices. And, so now they're sort of working those out, but it also interferes with, you can't have your cake and eat it too. It's especially in this industry,
right?
Like it almost demands everything out of you.
It absolutely does at all levels. That's really hard.
Yeah.
And the thing is getting the team together and, where we're going with these challenges of staffing levels. With some operations, AI is involved.
Oh, yeah.
Like that restaurant that opened in California the other day.
I don't know
that has AI. I mean, it's a burger restaurant.
Sure.
Quick food. So they do the burger to the fries to everything. And
does it have like that arm thing?
Yeah, the whole thing. Out it goes, build the burger.
Wow.
And there's, humans will do the finishing touches.
Sure.
It's like, I think, Spice over there in Boston. That is it. Daniel Balut, Chef Balut is a part of with those engineers that designed those robots that basically do that spinning wok bowl.
Yeah.
And then there you have people finishing it, and then out it goes.
What do you think about that?
I mean, it's hard because I think in some sides, I guess again we're getting away from some of the ability to have the craft or that element involved, but in some establishments like fast casual or healthcare even, where maybe somebody's working on those lines that it's like, wow, you may have to consider that you could put something there like that.
Yeah.
Now on the sense of, the other side of the culinary world where, high end and Michelin star and X into restaurants and all the way to what you're doing in the elements. Yeah, I don't see Tesla rolling out there and stacking wood for you, but
Hey, if you're listening, let me know. We'd love to do that.
Yeah, right. I mean, but we're looking at an industry we've taken a pretty hard hit. So again, you said have your cake and eat it too. I mean, we're in a what do we want? And in some sides, that may be dishwasher to these positions. But boy, if it's not a little scary too.
Yeah, certainly it is. I mean, I don't know. I think the other thing that I feel so old saying this, and this is a whole discussion in itself, but I get to this stage now in my life where I'm looking at younger folks, and I see some of the passion. Like for me, I'm always like banging on this drum in the Berkshires that why can't we have more of a community? I mean, I've gone to the beer dinner with several other chefs in the Berkshires here. I've been a part of that, and it's so much fun. Every time I do it, it's like, oh, I'm so reminded of why this is amazing and what can we do. And I don't know if it's just a symptom of everyone's so overtaxed here in the Berkshires where they don't have the bandwidth to be able to think of a bigger picture to do something that could be, I don't know, something where we all just, could maybe do a dinner. The Berkshire Grown used to do dinners like
this.
Yes, they did. Maple dinner.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Do you know if they're still doing those? I haven't heard.
I don't know. They had stopped there for a minute, I thought, but they were doing it over at Mirror. Was it Cranwell back in the day?
I feel like it rotated. There was a dinner that was, so Peter Platt, on one of your episodes here, right before COVID came, I sat down with him and a bunch of other chefs. And it's funny, one of them is Ben, who used to be at Ulta. They have Dare Bottle Shop in Lenox, and we worked with them on a couple of dinners.
Oh, cool.
But it was going to be something like that, like a Berkshire Grown dinner. Of course, the plug got pulled.
Yeah. Right.
That said, going with like a younger generation, I've hired people where you see them, I sort of see that twinkle in the same thing, but like as I think with all of us, maybe when we're young, I certainly can attest to myself, is you do have to pay your dues. And this industry is not, as long as you're doing stuff, I think, like we've had issues before where I want to bring folks out to go foraging, but there's the work that has to get done too.
Right.
So that's like
you're picking in the field and going back, building the menu and doing it that night.
Because nobody wants to be there till 10:30 on a Friday getting ready for a, big day on Saturday.
Right, exactly. And those are the challenges, So, I mean, hopefully maybe that opens it up to, those of you that are listening, maybe there's an opportunity as we get to the other side of some of these challenges, we can start that up again, because I think we're just existing in this moment.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
And maybe I'm just out of touch too, but, Railroad Street Youth Project, where I think they maybe still have this culinary sort of, I'm not sure, they still have that program?
Yeah, they did. Z Vassos, Chef Vassos was a big piece to that for quite some time. I don't know if he's still doing that or not. I'd have to go back to the website. But that's a great opportunity.
It is, yeah. And maybe it's just a matter of connecting some dots, because I would love to be a part of that and
that'd be
have
great.
People come on. So we have to, we have to support each other.
Absolutely. It's such a great point. So, all right. Well, James, thank you for being here. It was great to share the time, and thanks for enlightening me more. I've had a respect and appreciation, and I'm pretty wise between the ears still nowadays. But I think having good conversation, thank you for all of that.
Absolutely.
All right.
I feel like we barely scratched the surface, but
we did.
Perhaps
absolutely.
We haven't chatted but thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure, and it'd be great to do this again. So, Jackson, thank you, and it's good to see you back from LA.
Happy to be back.
Yeah, good to have you. So,
where can we find your stuff?
Oh, yeah, our stuff. Heirloomfire.com. And we do have a dinner. I think there may be a few seats open that are going to be at the Berkshire Botanical Gardens on
very
March
nice.
30th, I want to say.
Okay.
So
very cool.
It's going to be the small, highly interactive dinners with,
nice.
Coming up with a whole bunch of weird stuff, which, if we're going to sub out the fire, I got to bring something also that's exciting. So a lot of different, interactive components.
Well, we know you will. So people are going to be very fortunate for that. So, all right.
Thank you. All right. Well, be well.
You too. Take care, everyone. Thank you. Yeah, all right, everyone. That is a wrap. You can check us out if you like that. Subscribe. Also, the Instagram, Chef Massey. Let's keep it simple. ChefMassey.com. Have a good one. Bye for now.